it ain't about money. I make a lot of money doing this, yes, but that's not why I'm doing it. If I was doing it for money, I wouldn't develop.
In May 1992, this transgender body seller was last seen with Eddie Murphy, where she was arrested. This one was found dead, okay? So her name was Shalimar.
And Mel B's teen Angel is celebrating a big milestone. Mel B takes to Instagram April 7th to wish Angel a happy 18th.
That's what's weird about this, to have your sexuality question and your moral fiber question and all that, when all I was doing was trying to be nice.
The video opens by arguing that many fans believe Charlie Murphy was naturally funnier than Eddie Murphy. It then questions why Eddie became one of Hollywood's biggest stars while Charlie remained mostly in the background. The narration suggests that the difference wasn't talent but a belief that Eddie was willing to play Hollywood's game, while Charlie refused to compromise his principles, focused on protecting his family, and claimed he wasn't motivated by money.
Hopefully was that, from the Chappelle Show, I had plenty of love from people that was giving it up from being fans of the show. And that was fuel. I used it as fuel. I continued honing my craft, make myself better, because I always had it in me that it ain't about money. I make a lot of money doing this, yes, but that's not why I'm doing it. If I was doing it for money, I wouldn't develop, okay? Money is not going to inspire you to develop. You have to really love what you're doing to develop. It's in you.
Indeed, and the interesting thing about that, and I think the perception of fame and television, and obviously there's different levels of it, but I actually heard that you were only making $500 an episode for the Dave Chappelle Show. So obviously the money was an inspiration, right? Most people would assume because you were on television that this cat's raking it in.
Dave Chappelle was raking it in.
Right.
That was the Dave Chappelle Show. Dave Chappelle was raking it in. Nobody on the show but him.
Charlie and Eddie Murphy had difficult childhoods after their parents separated, and their father was killed. Charlie later served in the U.S. Navy after spending time in jail as a teenager, while Eddie found success very young through Saturday Night Live and blockbuster films like 48 Hours, Trading Places, Beverly Hills Cop, and Coming to America. The script argues that although Eddie was extremely talented, success in Hollywood allegedly requires more than talent, claiming that obedience to powerful industry figures also plays a role, while portraying Charlie as someone who refused that system.
He's a lot more compassionate than I am. He's looking and limos driving off. He said, wow, man, Rick really needs help. I was like, yo, we just gave him some help. Bust his ass and shit. I bet he won't come over here and disrespect like that again. Wrong. Talking about Rick James, man.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
The script then discusses Eddie Murphy's widely reported 1997 traffic stop involving Shalimar Sully, a transgender woman who was arrested on an outstanding warrant after being found in Eddie's car. It notes that Eddie publicly stated he was simply giving Shalimar a ride and denied any wrongdoing. The narration questions that explanation and presents it as unbelievable, while using the incident as the foundation for later speculation.
That's what's weird about this, to have your sexuality question and your moral fiber question and all that, when all I was doing was trying to be nice to somebody.
Eddie Murphy tells E.T. that his wife and children were out of town, says he wanted something to read and went to a late-night newsstand. He stopped here and picked up the suspected transsexual at 4:45 in the morning. He says he thought he was aiding a distraught woman.
Looks like a pretty Hawaiian girl in the corner crying. It looks like she was crying. She goes, oh, Eddie Murphy. She noticed him at the light. She recognized Eddie Murphy. Oh my God. It's like, what are you doing? Why are you out here working the streets so late? She goes, oh, I'm on my way home. Can you give me a ride home?
Police tailed them for 2 miles before pulling him over. Police say he is guilty of no misconduct, but there was a warrant out for the alleged prostitute. A judge has ordered that man, 20-year-old Addison Ciuli, to serve 90 days in jail. Murphy says he has often stopped to try to help prostitutes, but here is what he said in an impromptu news conference on the set of his new movie.
Being a good Samaritan blew up in my face, basically, when I'm never giving anyone a lift.
The script moves to Shalimar's death in 1998 after falling from her apartment building. It says that while authorities ruled the death consistent with a fall, friends and family reportedly questioned the circumstances, mentioning claims of fear, alleged threats, and suspicions that were never proven. It also discusses reports that Eddie later filed lawsuits against media outlets over related allegations and references claims that settlements or affidavits were used to dispute accusations. These points are presented in the script as part of a broader narrative, but remain allegations rather than established facts.
First of all, how I met my first transgendered person who had claimed she had been with Eddie Murphy in the past was I literally went to a bar that was, I can't remember the name of it, it was on Yucca, just south of Hollywood Boulevard, by that newsstand, the World News, where Eddie had stopped that night.
Yes.
And I sat at the bar. One night goes by, I'm friends with the bartender now, I'm tipping him well, I'm talking to him, and he finally got me to one of the women. And she said, oh yeah, I've been with Eddie. He likes, he has a foot fetish, and also Carnal Candy has been with him, and so. And I went and I said, so what's the deal? And she said, well, the deal is that Eddie Murphy's lawyer, Marty Singer, who's in the news these days for other things, basically I told my story to the tabloids, and he paid me $15,000 to change my story. And I said, well, interesting. Okay, can you prove that? This woman kept records, and she handed me a check and her IRS, everything. She had everything. And it was signed by Marty Singer.
The narration shifts to Eddie Murphy's relationship with Mel B and their daughter Angel, discussing Eddie's initial paternity dispute before DNA testing confirmed he was the father. It then notes that Angel later publicly identified as transgender. The script presents this alongside earlier events to suggest a pattern, and introduces an unverified theory that some celebrities supposedly demonstrate loyalty to powerful Hollywood figures through transgender-related situations involving themselves or their families. It references comments made by Kanye West while emphasizing that these ideas are speculative.
I'm here. My mama was sacrificed.
Me too.
You understand?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Michael Jordan, what about him? His daddy, right? Bill Cosby, his son, right? Dr. Dre, his son. You're out in Hollywood, a lot of people come up missing. Feels like it might be a lot of that in order to control, traumatize. They want to monetize and traumatize.
The final section contrasts Charlie Murphy's life with Eddie's, claiming Charlie avoided major scandals, stayed true to his values, and never embraced what the script calls Hollywood system. It argues that despite Charlie's talent, he never achieved Eddie's financial success, and concludes by suggesting that people who refuse to compromise are often overlooked, while those who do prosper. The video ends by inviting viewers to share their opinions on why Charlie never reached Eddie's level of fame, and on the broader theories discussed throughout the script.